Studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
The Canadian women save it for late as they get it going in Edmonton. The Canadian men kick off their World Cup qualifying campaign on Thursday. The Whitecaps learn their Champions League fate and who they'll be playing. And of course, the Caps in LA to face the Galaxy. Good evening and welcome to Soccer Talk. Right here on CL 650 Radio. We are broadcasting from our home field today, the Barber & Co. studios. Good evening to you. My name is Tyler Green. You can find me on Twitter at Tyler Green FC. The show on the radio, but also available online and web streamed at www.cl650.com. Thank you for listening and perhaps even listening to the podcast, which of course is powered by Big Rock Urban Eatery. The kickoff now brought to you by KO, Kevin O'Toole, and findaproperty.ca. Check out the condo located on Lower Lonsdale in North Vancouver. Gorgeous little spot. You can see it by booking a showing with Kevin O'Toole, or you can look at it online at findaproperty.ca. That's Kevin O'Toole, licensed realtor with Royal LePage Sussex, online at findaproperty.ca. All right. The Canadian women, they kicked off the World Cup in Edmonton with a victory. The 2015 Women's World Cup is officially on. And, well, it took a long time, but Canada wins it. Canada wasn't exactly at their best. But the important thing is that they got the result. They got the 3 points. And it was Christine Sinclair who scored the goal. It was a PK that was given for Canada. We'll discuss the match and who Canada needs to worry about in Group A, but also what they need to do to be better. Because, as I mentioned, they were not at the top of their game. We'll do all that with Sandra Prusina of Sportsnet.ca at about 10:30 this evening. So we'll talk a lot about the Canadian women's squad, plus a few other issues at the World Cup. Some of those questions that I brought up in my 24 Hours column earlier this week. And since the Women's World Cup kicked off, it is time to talk about our Barber poll tonight, brought to you by Barber & Co. And it is very simple. Who will win the FIFA Women's World Cup here in 2015? The Barber poll is presented by barberandco.ca. Tweet your thoughts with the hashtag Barber poll on Twitter at SoccerTalk650, at TylerGreenFC, at SimonFudge74. The Barber poll is brought to you by Barber & Co., Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, Cambion 18th, and on the corner of Main and 12th. Find them on Twitter at Barber & Co. or online at barberandco.ca. Now the Canadian men, well, they're going to be playing their first World Cup qualifying match on Thursday against Dominica. 2 games in really a week's time for the Canadian men. And they need to perform well, because if they do not in this against Dominica, well, it is all over for them that quickly in World Cup qualifying. They need to move on to the next phase. They need victories. Russell Teibert, the lone Whitecap, named to the squad. 8 MLS players named to the squad altogether. And it includes a guy by the name of Tesho Akindele, who was, of course, the topic of much conversation over the last few months about which side he would choose, Canada or the USA. Well, he has chosen Canada, and he will be there on Thursday with those 8 MLSers selected. So, have you changed your fantasy league roster because of all the international dates coming up? You should do so, and you should sign up for the Soccer Talk Fantasy League. The June contest, very simple. There's been 7 Women's World Cups now. This is the 7th one. So finish 7th overall in the month of June, and you can win an Umbro prize pack. All brought to you by Umbro Canada. Peter C or T, I'm not sure how to pronounce Peter's last name, but he was our big winner, or in fact loser, in May. He was the worst Fantasy League team in May, and he picked up an Umbro prize pack, a very Canadian Umbro prize pack for the month of May. If you want to join, visit facebook.com/SoccerTalkVan for the full details on the Soccer Talk Fantasy League, and find the latest Umbro products at umbro.com. Well, the Whitecaps learned their CONCACAF Champions League fate. They'll face Seattle Sounders FC and CD Olympique from Honduras in Group F. The competition kicks off in August. A long time to go before that tournament kicks off, but MLS still on the table right now, and the Caps were down in Los Angeles on Saturday night to face the Galaxy. And well, the Whitecaps win in LA against the Galaxy for the first time in their history. We will have a full recap of the Caps and Galaxy match coming up, but we welcome my co-host, Goal.com writer Simon Fudge to the program, and Simon and I are going to go head-to-head with the starting 11 next.
Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Soccer Talk on CIL 650.
Not that your stylist at the salon isn't doing a good job, but man, you deserve the big red leather barber chair experience of Barber & Co. Here's how it works. Go to barberandco.ca. Book your appointment at one of the 5 barber shops in Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, Cambie at 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. You can just walk in, too, and get your hair cut, hot shave, buzz cut, fade, or beard trim experience. A great wedding party idea, too. barberandco.ca.
What do you want?
A balcony so high it looks down into soccer matches at BC Place.
A pub I can walk to with a dozen big screens.
Kevin O'Toole has created findaproperty.ca to help you find it. Designed to be simply straightforward, findaproperty.ca is an invaluable tool. That's Kevin O'Toole, Royal LePage, Sussex, for buyers and sellers in the greater Vancouver area like you. So find what you want
A backyard big enough for my own soccer pitch.
at findaproperty.ca.
This summer, Canada's women's national team will be wearing Umbro jerseys as they play for glory in the world's most prestigious tournament. Umbro, the official uniform and gear supplier to the Canadian Soccer Association, is a supporter of all soccer, from local teams to the world stage. It's also the name worn by the world's top players. If you want your club to play a world-class game, equip and dress them in world-class gear. Find it at umbro.com. Umbro, tailoring football since 1924.
Coach education continues to be a major priority for BC Soccer as mandated age-specific coach education is required by June 1st, 2016. BC Soccer offers and delivers Canada Soccer's national certification courses within the community sports stream, focusing on long-term player development stages including active start, fundamentals, learn to train, and soccer for life. For more information on BC Soccer's coaching courses and registration, visit bcsoccer.net/coach or talk to your local soccer club, league, or district.
2 days, 200 kilometers. Too good to miss. Put your lungs to the test with the BC Lung Association's Bicycle Trek for Life and Breath, a cycling adventure through the picturesque Fraser Valley, September 12th and 13th. The Bicycle Trek for Life and Breath is a fully supported ride that includes your meals, accommodation, and mechanical support. All proceeds go to the BC Lung Association. So come experience the ride of your life and help British Columbians breathe easier. Register today at bicycletrek.ca.
This is Soccer Talk on CIL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
The Canadian women kicking off the Women's World Cup in Edmonton on Saturday. A win over China to kick it off. Whitecaps in LA to face the Galaxy. 1-0 the final for the Caps. All the discussion of those two matches to come, but right now it is starting 11 time, brought to you by Destination Mazda. Tweet your thoughts on the starting 11 on Twitter at Tyler Green FC. Soccer Talk 650, or my co-host, as we now welcome Goal.com writer Simon Fudge to the program. His Twitter handle, SimonFudge74. Did not get the memo that it was shirt and tie day today. But let's start the starting 11. Number 1, Canada beating China 1-0 to open the Women's World Cup on Saturday. Simon, it was or was not a penalty?
It was a penalty for me. Zhao Rong, the Chinese defender, elbowing Adrienne Leon in the head in full view of the Ukrainian referee, which pretty much made it, I think, a very clear and decisive decision for her to make. Was debated if it was or it wasn't. If it was given against Canada, it would have been considered to be a bit of a travesty, but there were some very good close-up pictures of the incident, and for me, it was a needless challenge for Zhao Rong to make because she didn't have to go and try and win the ball. It's injury time. She's got Adrienne Leon looking away from goal. She's just got to defend it properly, keep goal side of her, and she tried to go through to win the ball and made a huge mistake.
It was very wrong of Zhao Rong to commit what she did, and yeah, I agree, a penalty. And in that situation, you don't want to necessarily always call that because it's going to have that change the game right at the death there, but I think you have to call that one a penalty in that situation.
Absolutely. There was no need for her to raise her arms there. Number 2, despite claiming an important win to start the tournament, what does Canada need to do to improve on today's performance?
Well, they need to finish chances, but they just need to have more cohesion with that team. There was, I don't know if it was nerves, but I felt like there was a lot of players that just didn't have a very good game, and luckily for them, it didn't cost them in a goal against, but they need to come together a little bit better. They all need to step their game up, and they just overall, I think they need to have more cohesion as a team and really be on the same page. I thought there was a lot of off play between the group.
And I think a lot of that, in my opinion, was because the occasion got to them a little bit, and I think it was just one of those games that they needed to get out of their system. It certainly looked like that as it was unfolding. It was also a tale of two halves. You had a far better first half in terms of chances created, certainly at the start of the game, but the second half, up until injury time, was a dour affair. It went a long, long stretch until we actually had a shot on goal at either end. From either side. China played to defend and we're looking for a 0-0 draw. Canada just didn't look very good at all. Was disappointed with Christine Sinclair, and I thought Sophie Schuett needed to be more active in the game. Every chance now that they can turn around and do that as early as Thursday, but it reflected of a game and an occasion where they needed to get it out of their system.
Number 3 on the starting 11, Simon. Which teams do you most want to see in the final at BC Place?
Well, for me, I've talked about France and I've talked about Germany. Certainly, those two teams would be one of the two would be nice to see at that final. I think they have to be one of those two teams to be there. Curious to see maybe a dark horse. I've heard a lot of good things about Spain, and maybe they would be fun to see there. Japan, certainly, I think there's every chance that by Monday we'll see qualities of them that could make some people think that they can defend their Women's World Cup title. But for me, I keep thinking about France and Germany.
I would agree. France and Germany are the two teams. You know, so much talk about how France has the ability to go out and win this tournament, and they have the players, etc., etc. Well, now it's time for them to go out and prove that they have that ability to do so. Germany, just the number one team, far and above probably the best team at the tournament. You have to want to see them in the final because that would just, for me, make an incredible final to have those two teams there. Plus, it's always great to see a team like the Americans there, just with the fact that everybody then, I think, or a lot of people there at BC Place are going to be cheering for the other team, and it would just make for an incredible atmosphere to see a U.S. team at the World Cup final as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 4, and it's our barber poll question tonight. Who wins the 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup?
Well, I said Germany was going to win the Men's World Cup the day the tournament began, and I will do the exact same thing this time around. I think that the Germans will go on to claim the title at the 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup. It is our barber poll, by the way, brought to you by Barber & Co. You can vote at Soccer Talk 650, at Tyler Green FC, at Simon Fudge 74. And Simon, who do you think?
Germany for me. I know they're missing Nadine Kessler through a knee injury. She's the Women's Player of the Year in the world, but they've got so much firepower, and they're just so technically sound. And mentally, for me, like the men, they have that resolve about them as a unit that they can get the job done. So it will be Germany for me as well.
Number 5, the Whitecaps finally learned their CONCACAF Champions League fate earlier this week, drawing arguably the toughest of all the 8 groups alongside. In that group, they're going to face Seattle Sounders FC and Honduran Giants CD Olympia. How will the Whitecaps do in Group F?
I think they'll have a good run at it, but I just feel in the end they're probably going to get, I think, edged out, and they'd probably be by Seattle. It could end up being maybe the result away to Olympia and Honduras that will see them fall short a little bit. I think it is. It's for as much as it's a tough group, I do think the 2 games against Seattle will actually be very exciting. Ones that certainly the competition itself can sort of hang their hat on in terms of generating a bit of excitement. And I think in some ways that's where maybe the group will win. But let's not count out Olympia. This is one of the big teams in Honduras and certainly one of the big teams in Central America. If they can get their home form right, they could surprise both of these MLS teams and then go on and win it. But I think the Whitecaps will finish second.
Well, I think obviously it's going to depend on what Carl Robinson decides to do lineup-wise and who he decides to play in those games. But if he puts out his strongest lineup, and we all know what the strongest lineup is, not what Carl Robinson says is his strongest lineup for that game. No, we're talking about the best players playing in these games. I think the Whitecaps actually have a chance. We know what they can do against Seattle. We know that they can beat Seattle both at home and in Seattle. And if they can take care of business at home against a team like Olympia, I think Vancouver has every shot to actually go out and win this group. So I think they might. I think the Whitecaps might be the team that is able to surprise some of these teams.
I totally see that. It's just I'm taking them just missing out, and that there's just one key game in the group in that
That's
group.
fine, Simon.
You know,
That's
that it's in. But
perfectly fine.
No. But I just want to emphasize that I'm thinking along very tight margins that it could very much go their way or it might not. It just might be the difference of one result. And I'm thinking the game away to Olympia might be the difference.
Take care of business at home, win in Seattle. It might not matter.
Might not be, exactly. Are you excited? This is question number 6. Are you excited or disappointed that the Whitecaps will face a Seattle side that we will already see 3 times a season in MLS?
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in this. It would have been nice to see maybe a Mexican team or just somebody else that we don't constantly run into all the time. And those games are so big in general already. It would have been nice to see somebody maybe a little bit different.
It would have been nice to get one of the nice ladies that were pulling the balls out of the pot maybe on Monday to maybe do a little bit differently as it does. But I'll put it to you this way. For me, being this is their first time round in this competition, they got one piece in getting a team like Olympia. So they've got an interesting exotic trip to go to Central America, but an America or Santos Laguna for me, or Querétaro with Camilo and Ronaldinho, that would have been great, because then it would have sort of given you a sense, okay, this is different. This is something to get excited about, because it is different. It's a team that we don't get to see before, and I think a lot of Whitecaps fans wanted that. You could see that in the reaction right after Monday's draw, that they wanted that kind of different kind of competition to face. So there was some disappointment there, but at the same time, they've got to remember that they get a short trip to make down to Seattle to watch that away game against Seattle. So I don't think it's all that bad in many respects.
Yeah, the trip down, the short travel is going to be huge for the Whitecaps, especially considering that they are going to also be in a very tough playoff hunt. So that is going to I think that part is going to definitely be a benefit for the Vancouver Whitecaps. Number 7 on the starting 11, did the 3 other MLS teams in the CONCACAF Champions League, that's DC United, the LA Galaxy, and Real Salt Lake, earn favorable groups in Monday's draw?
I think that they did, and that's a good sign for MLS, who are, as a league, obviously quite desperate to win this competition. LA getting Comunicaciones and Central FC in their group. I think that's a very winnable group for them. DC United get Montego Bay United of Jamaica and Arriba Unido of Panama. So they look pretty strong to do well in Group H. And in Group G, Salt Lake at Municipal of Guatemala and Santa Tecla, I think, of El Salvador. Those three clubs got teams that in many ways, if they play a fairly strong lineup in each case, they should handle very, very well. Yes, they've got the difficult thing of having to go and make trips down more than once into Central America in many cases, or into the Caribbean. But for me, they're the favorites in each of those groups. And that's a good thing for MLS because there'll be an expectation that they go through to the last 8.
Yeah, I think that they got some positive results there. But, hey, we've seen teams other times that just haven't been able to, despite favorable draws, haven't been able to move on. So, as much as they are favorable, who knows what's going to happen. I do love the fact, though, by the way, just in terms that when you look at Group E, for example, the name of the one team is basically the name of a guy.
Well, you better ask people in Nicaraguan football what that's all about, because
it's great. It's like, hey, we're playing a team with one guy, and the Whitecaps in position 1. So I'm liking I like just how that looks right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Group H, though, DC United to me wins outright, though, because they get to go to Montego Bay.
Absolutely. the team you're referring to, by the way, is called Walter Ferretti.
Yes.
That's right. Okay. Number 8, on a 3-game winning streak after defeating DC United tonight by 2-1, how important has Sebastian Giovinco been to Toronto SC this season?
Well, he's been huge. To me, he's been their MVP. I saw a stat earlier today that he has pretty much been a part of like 80% of Toronto FC's goals this year, whether he's been scoring them or assisting on them. He is their MVP. He is that key player that Toronto FC has been looking for to pull the strings offensively for them. And to me, he has been huge.
He has been massive, and that's why it's so important that he's playing. And also, dare I say, raise this point, what kind of Toronto FC side are they if he's not playing? That's the big question. I still have a concern about them being over-reliant on players like Giovinco and Altidore and Bradley to an extent to carry them through this season, but he is getting it done. Many times they have spent a lot of money and not been able to get much in return for that cash, but he is proving to be, for the money, worth every penny right now, and that's very good to see because it's been a good run, especially coming out of the shadow of a poor result against Houston when they came back home. But they've since put themselves right back on track, and they look to be right in the thick of things.
Starting 11 is brought to you by Destination Mazda. Need a new Mazda or possibly a pre-owned vehicle? Visit Destination Mazda at 1595 Boundary Road at First Avenue in Vancouver, newmazda.ca. And of course, you can ask for me, Tyler Green. Yeah, I sell cars. Be more than happy to sell you one. Number 9 on the starting 11, Barcelona defeated Juventus to win the UEFA Champions League and claim a domestic and European treble along with the Spanish League and Cup titles. Is this one of the best Barcelona teams of all time, Simon?
Would have to be up there, certainly in terms of the results that they have been able to claim. They didn't have a good start to the season, if you remember, and they were looking like they might fall behind in the Spanish League title race, but that soon turned around quite quickly, and it was sort of probably right after the Christmas break in the second half of the year that they really got everything going in the right direction, and that really led to them taking this treble. In terms of thinking of, certainly in recent years, of other Barcelona sides, the other ones that have won the European Cups of recent times, it's right up there. It's certainly been, in terms of success rate and being able to get the job done, one of the better, more successful teams they've ever produced. But it makes for an interesting debate because in some ways the Barcelona side that won the Champions League against Man United at Wembley, I look at that team as being probably right up there as being their very best.
Yeah, that team was just absolutely so dominant in terms of everything on the field. This team, very, very good. And what I like about this team was, yeah, they had players that they very much relied on. You look at guys like, Lionel Messi and how much he is sort of a player that they need to do well in order to win. But then look at the first goal that they scored today. And, not a guy that, yeah, he scores some goals, but not a guy that you think, the first guy you think of when you look at, oh, who's going to score for Barcelona today? Probably, what, 5th, 6th on the list, maybe even lower down on the list of a guy that you think is going to score in a game of this magnitude. So just so much depth on this team, so many different ways to beat you. I think still defensively they can be a little bit, they can struggle at times. So probably not the best of all time, but definitely in the top 10, I would think.
Yeah, Ivan Rakitic was one of the best signings they made going into this season for me, I think. Number 10, Canada named their 23-man roster for upcoming Men's World Cup qualifiers against Dominica. This is for Russia 2018, if the tournament actually gets held there, which includes Tesho Akindele. Do you think he would choose to play for Canada?
I did not think that he was going to choose Canada, and I don't base that on anything about what Akindele said or really anything to do with him, but more so just the history and the past of Canadian players, whether it's Asmir Begovic, Teal Bunbury, Jonathan de Guzman, whether it's just been Junior Hoylett, who has just yet to decide what he wants to do. All these players just not deciding to play for Canada just made me think, oh, it's just going to continue on, and Tesho Akindele is going to decide to play for the U.S. So I'm a little surprised, but a pleasant surprise.
Yes, it is. I had a feeling, a more positive feeling it would happen, but yet it still had to hit home when the squad was announced this week. When Benito Floro basically said he was 99.9% sure in a recent interview that he'd been able to persuade Tesho Akindele to come on side. So even then I was a little bit of a wait and see, but the fact that Benito Floro was that strong in statement at the time that he felt that Akindele was going to be coming into the fold just gave me a sense that, okay, well, maybe this is possible. But I think I had to wait until this week to actually see him be named in the roster. And it has been a pleasant surprise, and I'm delighted for him. By no means is he the finished article. This guy's a rough diamond of a player right now in MLS. He still needs a lot of polish, and he has no international experience under his belt. But it's not to say that he can't become very good in MLS, where he is at his club, SC Dallas, and certainly a very good striker for the Canada at the international level.
It does bring up an interesting question for number 11, however, because with Canada and having so many woes in the goal production area, what strike force should Canada go with in qualifying?
I would go with Akindele alongside Kyle Larin because they're playing, and certainly in the likes of Kyle Larin, he's in form playing with Orlando City. I think that pairing is worth giving a try, especially in the first leg. I think down in Dominica, you got two pretty sizable physical guys who can impose themselves in a game. It's hard to know what this Dominica side is made up of, if they're a big physical unit or not. What kind of qualities they have in their back line. But I would almost try that combination for the fact that it would not only pay immediate dividends, but is it a partnership that can really be built into one that can do the job for Canada going forward?
Yeah, I was going to agree with you on that one. Kyle Larin, like you said, in form, scored his 5th goal today, and from by all accounts, a pretty nice goal scored today. Tesho Akindele, another guy that has some size, has some speed, has all the tools, and we know that he has been able to score some goals in Major League Soccer. So that would be a very interesting strike force to put together and see what those two players can do with one another. So for me, yeah, I'd like to see those two get a chance, because everyone else has gotten chances, and yeah, some of those guys have been able to score in the past, but a lot of times, like a guy like St. Ricketts, when the money's been down and he's needed to score, hasn't been able to get it done. A lot of those other guys just haven't been able to get it done, so maybe they're more guys that you can bring off the bench perhaps and see what they can do. Marcus Haber, I think, does maybe deserve a shot, because he has gotten that role over the last little while, and he has been able to get I think some positive results going his way. So, he's my wild card. But, yeah, I would like to see Akindawi and Warren go for it.
They really do stand out when you look at the striking options that have been picked. For me, Ricketts has had a chance, hasn't really done it. So neither has Randy Winnie-Bonsu or Marcus Haber. I mean, they've had their moments. Probably players that, as I say, probably better to come off the bench.
The starting 11 was brought to you by Destination Mazda. Need a new Mazda or perhaps a pre-owned vehicle? Visit Destination Mazda at 1595 Boundary Road at First Avenue in Vancouver. And hey, ask for me, Tyler Green. Canada 1, China 0. A goal from Christine Sinclair at the PK spot. Sandra Prusina, writer for Sportsnet.ca and on Twitter at @Prusina, will join us next.
Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Soccer Talk on CIL 650.
The Straight Razor Shave, a leading man classic. Steady hand coaxing the rugged face back to smoothness. This nearly lost art has found revival at Barber & Co. Hot towel, straight edge blade, and your face. It's an experience that reminds you you're alive. You're a man in the company of history's finest men. Start at barberandco.ca. Pick your barber shop in Yaletown, Gastown, the Financial District, Cambie at 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. And relax into the big leather chair for the shave of your life.
What do you want?
A balcony so high it looks down into soccer matches at BC Place.
A pub I can walk to with a dozen big screens.
Kevin O'Toole has created findaproperty.ca to help you find it. Designed to be simply straightforward, findaproperty.ca is an invaluable tool. That's Kevin O'Toole, Royal LePage, Sussex, for buyers and sellers in the greater Vancouver area like you. So find what you want
A backyard big enough for my own soccer pitch.
at findaproperty.ca.
BC Soccer, the provincial sport governing body responsible for the promotion and development of soccer in BC, is a professional, not-for-profit society committed to inspiring British Columbians to lifelong active, inclusive, and team play. BC Soccer would like to thank their partners as well as the players, referees, coaches, volunteer administrators, and other soccer leaders who dedicate thousands of hours to this beautiful game. For information on getting involved in soccer, coaching courses, referee courses, and any other BC Soccer program, visit bcsoccer.net.
Think you know how to run a soccer team? Join the Soccer Talk Fantasy League and prove it. Sign and sell players, make your team the best, and you could win monthly prizes from Umbro Canada. Pick your team each week. Pick your starting 11 or transfer players. Get all the details and get picking and playing at facebook.com/SoccerTalkVan. Build your team soccer team and run it in the Soccer Talk Fantasy League, presented by Umbro Canada, tailoring football since 1924.
It's your money with Fred Snyder.
What do you have to do to achieve your financial objectives? You got to find the right investments, you got to find the right plan, you got to find the right financial advisor, and you got to be proactive. You have to do something. You just can't sit back and wait for it to happen. You got to make it happen.
Fred Snyder, Sunday mornings 9 to 11 on Smooth and Easy, CIL 650. This is Soccer Talk on CIL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
Whitecaps 1, Galaxy 0. The recap of the cap shortly. Canadian women's national team talk with Sportsnet.ca's Sandra Prusina in a minute. But first, the scoreboard presented by Via Tevere Pizzeria Napolitana. 1190 Victoria Drive, serving up true wood-fired Neapolitan pizza in East Vancouver. Absolutely fantastic, and look for the food truck Via Tevere Neapolitan Express.
The other game in the Women's World Cup today in Group A saw the Netherlands in their debut win by a 1-0 over New Zealand. A very good goal by Mertens in the first half for the Dutch. The two games on Monday at BC Place to open up play here in Vancouver is in Group C. That's Cameroon against Ecuador at 4 o'clock Pacific time, and Japan plays Switzerland at 7 o'clock Pacific time. The UEFA Champions League final was today. It was Juventus 1, Barcelona 2. Barcelona securing the treble of Spanish League, Spanish Cup, and the European Cup for this season. In MLS, Sporting Kansas City defeated the Seattle Sounders by a 1-0 in a very busy day of action in the MLS. And in the NASL, it was Tampa Bay Rowdies defeating SC Edmonton by 2-1. Tomorrow, Jacksonville Armada will host Ottawa Fury.
We are in the Barber & Co. studios. Get your haircut, hot shave, buzz cut, or beard trim at Barber & Co. online at barberandco.ca. And the Barber poll today, who will win the FIFA Women's World Cup? It's a question that we will ask Sandra Prusina. And she joins us now, Sportsnet.ca writer. She is following the Women's World Cup as very closely. She's in Edmonton watching the Canadian women, and she will follow them throughout this tournament. And Sandra, thank you so much for joining us here late. You're in Edmonton, but I imagine just a little bit of euphoria and excitement still, because the way that game ended and the excitement of 53,000 people in the stands, I have to imagine that you've still got a lot of energy going right now.
Yeah, thanks, guys, for having me. Really appreciate it. And you said it. It was incredible. The buzz wasn't even just between all of the spectators there. Even the media was buzzing. They couldn't believe what had just happened. And to see everybody decked out in their red, and you could tell everyone was kind of waiting for something to happen. And there were moments of build-up, right? And then it kind of fell flat. But for it to happen in that sort of electric atmosphere at the very end of the game was something I don't think people will forget. And what a textbook story for that to happen in the opening match of the World Cup that you're hosting. And if you think back to 2011 and how everything ended, so this was just like a way to close that chapter, and you're opening a new one with this team and in our country. Very cool.
Obviously a great way to win the game, but what did you think of Canada's performance throughout this match?
Yeah, it was very topsy-turvy. I thought the first 20 minutes were quite good because I personally went into that with lower expectations in terms of thinking how they might react on the stage. Are they going to be able to block out what they're doing and the magnitude of this game? And I thought they did that really well in the first 20 minutes. I realized there were a couple of hiccups. I know Lauren Sesselman had a bit of a giveaway there, but you could see John Herdman on the sideline telling her to kind of calm down a little bit. Everything was going to be okay. And then I noticed things really started to turn in terms of momentum when the Chinese got the free kick, and it basically hit the post twice, which doesn't seem to happen too often, but it did. And that really derailed Canada, I thought. After that, they started really giving the ball away in the middle. And I also thought they relied very, very heavily on their fullbacks. They did so much running tonight, and I thought of everybody on the pitch, they were probably the ones creating the most. So they not only had the responsibility in their own third to defend well, they also had to try and create and get balls into the box so forwards could try and get a head or a foot on them. So that became a little bit frustrating to watch as well. So it was a kind of a disjointed effort, I would say.
You're listening to Soccer Talk here on CL 650 Radio in Vancouver. We're talking with Sportsnet.ca's Sandra Prusina about the Women's World Cup and the Canadian Women's National Team. My name's Tyler Green. Alongside me, Simon Fudge.
Sandra, I wanted to ask you about Christine Sinclair's performance, because obviously she did score the penalty and secured the decisive moment for them, but particularly in the second half, I thought she really struggled today. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll echo that sentiment. I thought she almost had that mentality from previous years where she has to carry the entire team on the back, and I thought she really started, you could sense her frustrations. You could tell by her look. You can tell when she starts to slump her shoulders a little bit. She's getting frustrated. She has that look on her face, and I particularly remember one moment where it was quite late, maybe 80-ish minutes, where Sophie Schmidt was able to just lay a fantastic ball at her feet, and she just didn't place it well. Maybe in another game she would just let that shot rip and put it into a corner, but she played it right into the hands of the Chinese goalkeeper. So you could really sense her frustration, absolutely.
When you look at other players that need to step up, we saw a little bit today from Sophie Schmidt, but how much more do we need to see in games from her?
Sophie Schmidt, I talked to her after the game, and you're basically touching on what I was thinking. I asked her, when Caitlin Kyle came on and when Jessie Fleming came on, you noticed that Sophie Schmidt was able to move up. and in that turn, she was able to press up and become more creative, get the ball to Sinclair. And I asked her, I said, is that something that you want to do? And she said, yeah, over the past year and a half, I've been able to score goals, and having that creativity of being more of an attacking player is something that I want to do. She wants the responsibility. So I think, yeah, absolutely. If we can see her step up, you'll notice, teams always focus so much on Sinclair. So if you open up somebody like Schmidt, who's creative and really good on set pieces, that'll obviously benefit your team in the long run.
The 3 substitutions that she made was actually written by my colleague at Goal today, Nick Sabetti, that made a bit of a difference to that Canada being able to get the result. Obviously, Adria Leon was involved in the penalty right at the end of the game there. Do you think that John Herdman used his substitutions well today?
Well, I thought that Tancredi should have been subbed off earlier. She was really fighting the ball. Her timing is just not there. It's not what we're used to from her, and John has put a little bit of pressure on Melissa in terms of saying, you know what, since you've rejoined the team since London, you actually haven't scored, and we need you to score. And in media availabilities over the past couple of days, he said Melissa is a big game player, and I'm just wondering if she's maybe feeling a little bit of pressure, and maybe she knows her career could end in the next little bit, and she is fighting it because she was given a couple of really good passes, and in terms of being able to lay it at her feet, and she hasn't been able to control it. She hasn't been as physical as we're used to seeing her, so I think it would have been better to maybe sub her out a little bit earlier. Leon was, I think, the correct sub to make, just because you've got some fresh legs there. She, too, is making her senior World Cup debut, just like a few of the others, so she can definitely get things going, and she's quite a bit of a physical player as well, so you add that extra element. So I think kind of struggled in terms of Melissa's role a little bit.
The Dutch won tonight against New Zealand in the second game, so now Canada have got to play those 2 teams, New Zealand being next. With this game now out of their system, how do you see Canada going in against New Zealand, and do we see them actually look a better team on Thursday?
So they've kind of put this behind them now. Yeah, you said it. You've got the 3 points. You're sitting at the top of the group, obviously, with Netherlands, because they got the points as well. But you've got the monkey off your back. And, of course, you've got the second storyline with this whole thing is it's John Herdman's ex-team, so he knows some of the intricacies of that team. He was with them for a really long time. He, too, brought them to a World Cup. So there's going to be extra motivation, but it's not that the team can take the foot off the gas, but their focus can be a little bit different. You don't have to worry about hearing the national anthem for the first time. You don't have to worry about looking to see where your parents or your family members are sitting for that opening match. That's done. It's in the past now. You got the 3 points, and now you can just play soccer. And I think that's the most important thing, because I wonder tonight if maybe they were overthinking it a little bit, and maybe they were seeing these headlines in their minds about how they faltered in front of their fans. So this way, it's done. And now you can focus on the teams that you're going to face. And I think that's really important.
You're listening to Soccer Talk here on CIL 650 Radio. We're speaking with Sandra Prusina, who writes for Sportsnet.ca, The Pitch Side Report, and Northern Kick. You can find her on Twitter at @sprusina, SPRUSINA. And my name's Tyler Green, alongside me, Simon Fudge. Sandra, I wrote about this earlier in the week in my 24 Hours column and some of the questions about the tournament, and now we have you on to answer those questions. So one of them, I look at the U.S. and Hope Solo, who is a tremendous goalkeeper and backstopping the U.S., and they are going to be a team to beat. But if somehow she goes down with injury, they have very limited experience in the backup position. How dangerous could that be for the U.S.?
Well, and that's the thing, right? You mentioned it. It's dangerous. You have a goalkeeper that's been with you for so many years. You know the way she thinks. You know the way she moves. I think of someone like Ashlyn Harris, who's their backup, and yeah, she's a good goalkeeper without a doubt. But what can she give you in terms of communication and just knowing what to expect at the Women's World Cup when she hasn't played there before. Yeah, she was part of the U19 back in the day when when it was a World Championship in Canada, and she does have some experience on that big stage, but this is a completely other beast, right? Mm-hmm. And they rely completely on Hope Solo because she's been their go-to person for years and years. So for the Americans, I'm sure they're knocking on wood everywhere, just hoping that, and no pun intended, that Hope stays healthy.
Here in Vancouver, Japan, they're the current title holders of the World Cup. They play 2 games, but you don't hear a lot of buzz about them being a team to beat or even repeating in this tournament. Were they a surprise last time, or have they taken a real step backwards?
I just think they're one of those teams that people tend to forget about. You kind of mentioned it. They come out of the shadows, and then when you see them practicing and when you see them doing things, they're so methodical and they're so regimented, and everything they do is on point and on time, and just everything is routine, and they're an incredible team, and they kind of fall through the cracks, maybe because they don't have hugely marketable players. I don't really know what it is, but I wouldn't say that they've taken a step back, because I did see them twice play Canada last fall, the one game in Edmonton and then the next game in Vancouver, and they looked phenomenal. I mean, their passing is probably the best in the women's game, I would say. They are just a treat to watch. Like, that is soccer like you're playing a video game. Like, it's so perfect. You know what I mean? So I absolutely, maybe flying under the radar is great for them, because you look at what they've done in the past, they still got a great core of players. So they're definitely, I mean, if I were to list my favorites for this tournament, they are right up there.
Now, on the flip side, the French are getting a ton of press as a team that looks like they can win it, but they still need to take their game to that next level to be a winner of a World Cup tournament. Can they do it in this tournament?
Yeah, and again, you said it right there. People are expecting them, but you have to get there first. And I think an issue with the French over the past few years is the fact that maybe they can't finish. They've got the skill. You saw it in 2012 at the Olympics. I mean, in that bronze medal game, likely that should have been theirs, but they just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, and it's something that's frustrated them. But I think that core group of players is at the right age to take them to that next level. So if they can get out a good foot forward here early in the tournament and get that momentum going, I think they could be unstoppable.
She covers the Canadian women's national team and women's soccer for Sportsnet.ca. The Pitchside Report, Northern Kick. Her name, Sandra Prusina. And Sandra, finally, it is our barber poll tonight here on Soccer Talk. Who wins 2015's edition of the FIFA Women's World Cup?
I've got to go with Germany. That is my gut. There is something about soccer in that country right now. I admire how they've funded it, both the men's and the women's and the youth programs on both sides. And I think for Ungerer, this is going to be her last kick at the can. And I think she's still one of the best goalkeepers in the world. You look at the depth they have for their strikers. They're just, to me, if I wanted to model a team, it would be the German team. They are exquisite to watch, and I just think they can get it done.
Sandra, thanks so much for joining us, and hope to catch up with you further down in the tournament in a couple weeks' time.
Oh, my pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Nice chatting.
Thanks again. Sandra Prusina joining us here, and if you want top-notch Women's World Cup coverage, you should probably follow her on Twitter. S. Prusina is where you can find her on Twitter. You're listening to Soccer Talk right here on CL 650 Radio in Vancouver, online at cl650.com, and on podcast on iTunes. Just search Soccer Talk on the iTunes podcast. And the Soccer Talk podcast is, of course, brought to you by Big Rock Urban, online at bigrockurban.com. Whitecaps win in LA. Simon and I discuss that next.
Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Soccer Talk on CL 650.
Not that your stylist at the salon isn't doing a good job, but man, you deserve the big red leather barber chair experience of Barber & Co. Here's how it works. Go to barberandco.ca. Book your appointment at one of the 5 barber shops in Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, Cambie at 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. You can just walk in, too, and get your hair cut, hot shave, buzz cut, fade, or beard trim experience. A great wedding party idea, too. barberandco.ca.
This summer, Canada's women's national team will be wearing Umbro jerseys as they play for glory in the world's most prestigious tournament. Umbro, the official uniform and gear supplier to the Canadian Soccer Association, is a supporter of all soccer, from local teams to the world stage. It's also the name worn by the world's top players. If you want your club to play a world-class game, equip and dress them in world-class gear. Find it at umbro.com. Umbro, tailoring football since 1924.
What do you want?
A balcony so high it looks down into soccer matches at BC Place.
A pub I can walk to with a dozen big screens.
Kevin O'Toole has created findaproperty.ca to help you find it. Designed to be simply straightforward, findaproperty.ca is an invaluable tool. That's Kevin O'Toole, Royal LePage, Sussex, for buyers and sellers in the greater Vancouver area like you. So find what you want
A backyard big enough for my own soccer pitch.
at findaproperty.ca.
Coach education continues to be a major priority for BC Soccer as mandated age-specific coach education is required by June 1st, 2016. BC Soccer offers and delivers Canada Soccer's national certification courses within the community sports stream, focusing on long-term player development stages including active start, fundamentals, learn to train, and soccer for life. For more information on BC Soccer's coaching courses and registration, visit bcsoccer.net/coach or talk to your local soccer club, league, or district.
What's the name of the website where I found my couch? On the site where I found my wife, too?
Oh.
The classified site where I found my 3 cats as well.
Yeah, whatchamacallit.com.
Yeah, we need to create job postings there.
On the same website where you found your couch, your wife, and your 3 cats.
I think you got the point. If you're looking for a serious job seeker, go to vancouverjobshop.ca.
And you need to repost the ad every day so it doesn't get lost.
Between your wife, your couch, and your 3 cats.
Exactly.
Post as many jobs as you like in minutes and find the perfect local employee. vancouverjobshop.ca. Long name, amazing results.
This is Soccer Talk on CIL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Gray.
It's time for the final cut, brought to you by Barber & Co. on Twitter at Barber & Co. 5 full-service barber shops for your big haircut, hot shave, buzz cut, fade, and beard trim. Get the ultimate barbershop experience. 5 locations to serve you. Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, Cambie and 18th, and the corner of Main and 12th, barberandco.ca. And for the final cut today, we go to L.A. Well, I guess we're not going to L.A., but the Whitecaps were in L.A., beating the Galaxy 1-0. The first time the Caps have been able to beat the Galaxy down at the StubHub Center, or the Home Depot Center for that matter.
Or whatever that stadium is on the University of California, Dominguez Hills campus.
It was the StubHub Center, and before that it was the Home Depot Center.
That's right.
That's just those 2 names, Simon.
That's right. It's that place in Carson, California, or Carson City, as it was mentioned at one point.
Yeah, on some sort of TV broadcast.
Carson City's in Nevada, by the way.
Yeah. Simon, they win 1-0, but in reality, probably should have been a little bit more. And it's just another one of those examples. And yeah, it's great they got the 3 points, but just another one of those examples that the Whitecaps just can't finish off teams just yet.
No, but I wonder if they're getting ever closer. It feels like an ever slow, painful process of progression, but I think it's starting to happen. I almost feel we need to kind of backtrack a bit and say to ourselves, well, we don't normally see this team go down and win in LA against the Galaxy. And I still had that feeling of sort of trepidation about tonight's game, even when the Galaxy put their lineup out, and you had to take in consideration they had a lot of players away on international duty. So for me, I think we almost kind of have to take some things in perspective. I think they played, again, very well tonight. They did a lot of good things on Wednesday in Montreal and should have gotten a point there, but for the first time, I think, this season, their defending really let them down, especially on the winning goal by Piatti against the Impact. But tonight, they really, particularly with their pace on the counterattack, really hurt LA. It's where the winning goal came from, and quite frankly, they had two golden chances to really seal the game, and they should have sealed the game. But all night, they were just causing LA huge problems. And in the end, they were able to see it home and get the points.
Octavio Rivero has not necessarily had the best service over the last little while. And we'll talk about the guy that should be providing that service in a second. But he really stepped up, and not the guy that was scoring the goals, but he was playing provider today, and probably should have had 2-3 assists in this one.
Yeah, he should have. He put in. I mean, he was a personification of the kind of the graft and the work that the team put in tonight. I thought Chicharro was very good as well. They seemed prepared to just go out and work their way through to get a result, whether it was going to be by a goal or better. They were going to grind it out. And it was a very positive sign for me to see that. It's almost as if they know right now they're in this long road stretch of long games, which of course now there's got a huge break between now and the game against the New York Red Bulls. But it was an away type of performance where they wanted to be efficient but not flashy. And I think even in some parts of the game of Montreal, but particularly tonight, that's what they showed. They showed that they were going to be efficient but not overly sexy about the way that they were playing.
I joked earlier on with a tweet that Pedro Morales, basically in the first 30 minutes, had 5 completed passes that were forward passes. He had 5 unsuccessful passes going forward, and he was 8 for 8 on his backward passing. So basically, the June Marcus Davidson passing ability throughout the first 30 minutes or so. But here's a guy, he hit the post, but just the Pedro that we know about is not the Pedro that we're really seeing right now, and he needs to be better.
He needs to be better. But if it's him, I think there's a number of players that also still have got a lot left to give this season and need to show a lot better than what they have been. But certainly for him, he needs to be that much better. And let's just hope, as the season grinds its way through, that he does find his top form at the business end of the season, sort of around September, October time.
And very quickly, no Robert Earnshaw tonight. Are you surprised we're not seeing him very much?
Well, yes and no. Do remember that Maddox got on last sub tonight. He is going to be gone for 2 months, and that's where Robert Earnshaw is going to be coming on and making those appearances. So I think we will start seeing him in the not-too-distant future.
For the crew here at Soccer Talk, my co-host Simon Fudge. You can find him at goal.com and on Twitter at SimonFudge74. Next week, Simon, shirt and tie night. Producer Greg the Hammer Ballack. A special thank you, as always, Thomas Rage and Fred Anco. Thank you for your continued support. My name's Tyler Green. You can read me in 24 Hours Vancouver on Wednesdays, and follow me on Twitter at Tyler Green FC. And don't forget, be sure to download the Soccer Talk podcast. It is brought to you by Big Rock Urban. Whether it's before or after the big game, Big Rock Urban is just a 10-minute walk from BC Place. Perfect either before or after one of those World Cup games. Find them at 310 4th Avenue West and online at bigrockurban.com. You can find the podcast at CL650.com or search Soccer Talk on iTunes and just hit subscribe. Soccer Talk returns to your radio dial next Saturday, 10 p.m. right here on CL650.
Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Soccer Talk on CL 650.
The Straight Razor Shave, a leading man classic. Steady hand coaxing the rugged face back to smoothness. This nearly lost art has found revival at Barber & Co. hot towel, straight edge blade, and your face. It's an experience that reminds you you're alive. You're a man in the company of history's finest men. Start at barberandco.ca. Pick your barber shop in Yaletown, Gastown, the Financial District, Cambie at 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. And relax into the big leather chair for the shave of your life.
What do you want?
A balcony so high it looks down into soccer matches at BC Place.
A pub I can walk to with a dozen big screens.
Kevin O'Toole has created findaproperty.ca to help you find it. Designed to be simply straightforward, findaproperty.ca is an invaluable tool. That's Kevin O'Toole, Royal LePage, Sussex, for buyers and sellers in the greater Vancouver area like you. So find what you want
A backyard big enough for my own soccer pitch.
at findaproperty.ca.
Each fan who cheers, each fan who wears the colors, each fan who supports the club no matter what, makes us stronger, faster, a wall of blue and white. No matter what, we give our all on our honor. Join the club and experience the best sporting atmosphere in Vancouver. Save up to 43% on tickets. Packages start from $149. Visit whitecapsfc.com/tickets.